Hello, good evening, and welcome to Unacademy. Thank you for joining me live on this lovely evening here. Good evening, and welcome. So, let me know, is my audio pretty clear to you? So, what are we here for today? Well, today I'm having this session for giving you a basic introduction to this subject of SCMPE, also known as the subject of costing. Yeah, this is also the subject of costing, and this is paper number 5 of your CA final level. The purpose of this session is to give you a general idea about how do we conduct classes over here. Yeah, it's to give you a first-hand experience of how our class is conducted on Unacademy. Believe me, on the Unacademy platform, the classes will be even more better than what you see here on YouTube. Okay? Before I begin, certain important announcements for you guys. Well, Unacademy is offering some very good discounts for you. Yes, we are offering 20% discount on all subscriptions starting from today. A very attractive offer starting from today, 27th up to 30th June. 20% discount on all CA subscriptions. Use my code YashasLive to get that 20% discount. Okay. You can also have scholarships. Yes, at Unacademy, we have also started scholarship tests for those of you who are good enough, and you can earn some scholarship money. So the scholarships are now live for CA final group 1 and group 2. You need to follow these steps to get your scholarships. Click on try Unacademy for free, and then click on start the test. Again, click on start the test so you can appear for the scholarship test. We have also launched the iconic program for CA final aspirants. Iconic program has been hugely successful at CA foundation and intermediate level, and we have also launched that now for CA final level, the iconic subscription. Iconic is the premium subscription for CA final students. Under that, you get some additional features like live interactive classes, structured courses. You'll get one-to-one mentorship. Yes, there will be a mentor designed, there will be a mentor appointed specifically for you. One-to-one mentorship will be there. Printed material will be given. Dot solving will be there. All these are the special features. One-to-one mentorship will be helping you. That mentor will be helping you throughout your entire preparations until the day of your exam, right? The test series will be there, and the test papers will be evaluated. Evaluated test series meaning the papers will be checked and you will be informed about your performance in the test. You will be also given tips and suggestions regarding how can you improve your performance in the test. Trust me, it doesn't get better than this, right? So the iconic subscription pricings will go like this. Use my code YashasLive to get some discounts on these subscriptions, and right now you're getting 20% discount on these subscriptions. Yes, Harsha, good evening. Group 2 subscriptions also same pricing. You can get 20% discount using the code Yashas Live if you take subscription up to 30 June. Okay? Anyway, so that are the important announcements. So as I told you, today we are here for what? Today we are here to give you a basic understanding, basic introduction to the subject of SCMPE, that is costing subject. Now you had a costing subject at your CA intermediate level also. Yeah, and your intermediate level costing is quite different from the costing subject at final level. I'll tell you how. But before that, you tell me, inter-level costing subject. Do you remember anything about inter-level costing subject? Yes, Maruti Kumar. Good evening, welcome. Tell me, do you remember your inter-level costing subject? Or if you grade from 1 to 10, like how much do you remember? 10 being you remember everything, 1 being you remember nothing at all. Let's see, let's find out. Good evening, Pooja. Welcome. Maruti is like 4 5. Okay. That's fine, that's fine. See, I always expect that by the time you reach CA final, you forget your inter level like everything. You know why? Because by the time you start your CA final, you start doing articleship, and the moment you start doing articleship, your knowledge starts going out. Why? Because Remember something? Oh, good. Because what happens is the moment you start your articleship, you go to the client places and you do the audit work for the client places, and the moment those client people start telling you sir, sir, and sir, they get you tea, they get you snacks, you enjoy the things, you enjoy all those things, and in that enjoyment, you never know, you forgot all the things that you learned in your CA inter level, isn't it? Yes. So don't worry, I already know that you don't remember many things from your inter level. So what we discuss at final level costing, we will be discussing everything from scratch. Yes, of course, you have learned this subject at inter level. So I will not be teaching you inter level concepts, but I will be giving you a brief summary of all those inter concepts which are required at final level. Yes, so when I begin my regular batches for SCMPE, we always begin with first few classes where I introduce the subject to you, where I give you certain small recap of CA inter-level concepts. Yes, I'll give you certain recaps of your inter-level concepts that will be required to learn the CA final level. Yes, so for those of you who are planning to join my regular batch of CA Final on Unacademy, yes, my regular batch has already started from 25th of May. The batch is called as May 22 morning batch. It is called May 22 because the batch started in May 22. Okay? And the batch is applicable for November 22 exams. So batch has already started. You have missed some classes, but still you have a chance to join that batch. I will be starting a new chapter from day after tomorrow morning onwards in that batch. So you still have a chance to join that batch. But these lectures, this session, today's session, in fact, 3 sessions I am conducting on a YouTube. 3 free sessions, free. 3 free sessions I'm conducting on a YouTube just to give you an idea that how are we going to proceed with the syllabus. Okay? Just to give you an idea that how do we learn the subject in our class. Okay, so my today's session, I'm going to cover that how is my final level costing different from the inter level costing. Okay? So first of all, the name of my subject here, it's like strategic cost management and performance evaluation. You see, such a long and complicated name they have given. It's such a long and complicated name, but yes, in simplest words, I can say this is just like your subject of costing. But why is it given such a complicated name? How is this subject different from inter-level costing? Chalo, let us find out. First of all, before I begin with that, let me also introduce myself to you now. I am CA Devang Kothari. For those of you who don't know me, I am a chartered accountant by qualification, but I am into teaching by profession. But I'm teaching the subject of costing out of my passion. My purpose in my classes is not just to teach you that subject. My purpose in my classes is to make you fall in love with the subject. Because I believe that if you love a subject, then you don't have to give much efforts in the subject. It comes automatically. Yeah. So trust me, by the end of my classes, I'm sure you're going to love this subject, and we'll be learning this subject based on lots of examples, lots of experiences, and lots of real world case studies and situations that we can discuss. Okay? Yes, Maruti, morning is said from tomorrow we'll be starting with decision making. Yes, Maruti, but tomorrow I still have I still have some questions of previous chapter which are pending to be completed. So decision making a new chapter in my regular batch will start from day after tomorrow. But still, you can join me live tomorrow morning in the class, because tomorrow morning in class we're going to learn some very interesting concept which is not about decision making, but it is a new concept. You can still join that live class tomorrow because that new concept is quite interesting and it will be useful later in the syllabus also. Okay? So those of you who are planning to join my regular class, you can anyways start joining from tomorrow itself. It's an old topic, it's a continued topic. You might have some trouble in understanding a continued topic, but it won't be much an issue. Okay? Yeah. So rather than sleeping your morning off, you might as well come live. Right, Maruti? Okay. So what's the difference? Well, let's see this. In the inter level, your subject was named as CMA. At final level, we are naming it as SCMPE. The change of name is obviously there, but apart from that, the major difference now is that at inter level, your subject was mostly pertaining to calculations. All you had to do was make a lots of calculations. But at final level, your subject of costing is less of calculations, more of analytical and decision making. Yes, it is more of analysis and decision making. At inter level, your costing subject contained only practical questions, mostly only practical questions. But now at final level, your costing subject will contain practical questions plus theory questions and plus very important case studies. Now, based on this, many of the students have a wrong belief. You have a wrong belief, wrong impression that CA final costing subject is only theory. So let us discuss, is that true or not? Well, let me tell you, CA final costing subject is not majoritarily theory. It is still majoritarily practical questions only. But when you see the suggested answers, when you see the study material, when you see the RTPs and all, when you see the answers of these suggested answers, when you see the answers in the RTP, it looks like majority things are theory, theory, and theory. I'll tell you why does that answers seem to be theory answers, because that answers are not theory answers. They are practical questions, but the theory that you see is the analysis. Yes, the theory that you see is the analytical part. Well, that's what makes my final costing subject very different from costing subject at inter level. See, at inter level, you answer the subject by just giving calculations. At final level, apart from giving calculations in your answer, you have to give analysis. For final level now, you answer this subject as if, imagine, as if you are a practicing chartered accountant. Imagine you are a practicing chartered accountant and a client comes to your office. A client comes to your office and asks your suggestions in his business. So will you just do some calculations and give him chalo pakdo ye calculation? Like for example, if the client comes to you and asks you that, sir, how should I increase profit? I have a problem that we are not earning good profits. Or the client comes to you and asks your suggestions that our business is incurring losses. Suggest us what should we do. What will you do? Say, for example, you will just calculate break-even point on a sheet of paper and give that paper to him. Lo pakdo. Is that what you do? Do you do you convince your clients like this? No. As a practicing chartered accountant, when a client comes to you with some problem, your job is not just to do calculations. Your job is to understand his business, give him recommendations, give him suggestions of how to improve his business. Yes, because whatever calculations you do, you don't give that calculations to the client. You yourself analyze those calculations, and according to your analysis, you give suggestions to the client. My CA final costing is a very realistic subject, very realistic subject where you need to give analysis to the client. You need to write lots and lots of analysis and decision making. That's what makes my subject appear like theory. But let me tell you, my subject has very less amount of pure theory. It has very less amount of pure theory. Majority of the subject is practical questions and its analysis. Yes, you will find me saying this many times. Even during my regular class, you will find me saying this many times that analysis is the main part of the subject. Okay? So, my CA inter costing considered only internal factors. My CA final costing considers internal as well as external factors. Like, say, for example, simple example, if I want to decide my selling price, how do I decide my selling price? On what basis did you decide a selling price at inter level? Come on, answer me. If you decide your selling price, then tell me at inter level, on what basis did you decide your selling price? Come on, can you? You are selling some product, you are manufacturing and selling a product. Then for your product, on what basis do you decide the selling price? Yes, Maruti, you decided the selling price by taking cost plus profit. Meaning, you identify your cost, you add profit that you want, and set a selling price. Now think, this method of deciding selling price, if you decide your selling price by this method, cost plus profit, is it necessary that at this price your customers will buy the product? Is it necessary that at this price you will get enough demand of the product? Not necessary. What if the competitor is selling at a price lesser than yours? Will your product get sold? No. Did you even consider the competitor's pricing while deciding your selling price? No. Well, that's what you did at CA Inter level. You decided selling price purely based on your internal cost and based on the internal profit which you want. You never considered what the competition is charging. You never considered what the government regulations are. You never considered what are the general market situations. External factors you never considered. Now we will consider them. Yes, so at CA final level, my cost calculations, my entire subject will be considering external as well as internal factors. Both factors we shall consider. Okay? Finally, my inter-level costing subject was mainly focused on cost control, while final level costing subject focuses on cost reduction. Now, cost control versus cost reduction is a very famous concept, and that concept is from CA inter level. Yes, that is not CA final level. You have learned about cost control, cost reduction at CA inter level, and that concept is also very important at CA final level. Do you remember what is cost control or cost reduction? Anyone? Anyone, do you remember what is cost control or cost reduction? Can you differentiate or tell me anything about these concepts? Yes, tell me something about cost control or cost reduction, whatever you remember. Yes, Maruti. Comparing actual and estimate is cost control. Yes, that's good. Good, good. Oh, बाप रे, ये क्या है? And preparing a better estimate, yes, it's cost reduction. Absolutely, yeah. So what does this mean? Let's take an example. Let's say I estimated cost of my product as say 20. But when did I make this estimate? I made this estimate at the beginning of the year. Yeah. Now by the end of the year, when I came to know the actual cost, my actual cost turns out to be say 25. So at the beginning of the year, my cost was estimated at 20. By the end of the year, my actual cost turns out to be 25. Now this means what? This means that I did some mistake. This means that I incurred some extra cost. Cost control means to try and reduce my actual down till the estimate. You try to decrease my actual cost back to the estimate. This is called as cost control. How can this be done? Can you tell me how can this be done? How will I decrease my actual 25 down till estimate? Can I do that in this year? No, this year has already ended. Now this year has already completed, so in this year I cannot decrease my actual back to the estimate, but I can still do something to prevent that in the next year, right? So in the next year, how do I bring my actual cost down till the estimate? Any idea? Well, this can be done by identifying and preventing mistakes. See, I must have done some mistake in current year. Must have done some mistakes in the current year. Because of that mistakes, my cost instead of 20 turns out to be 25. Must have done some mistake due to which my cost has become 25. So you need to identify and prevent these mistakes in order to get back to the cost of 20. So cost control is all about preventing mistakes, identifying and preventing your mistakes. Yes, Maruti, you can say that you identify which cost was avoidable and you avoid that cost in the next year. That is called as cost control. Okay. And what is cost reduction? Well, cost reduction is trying to bring that estimate further down. Let's say, for example, my estimated cost is 20. So think, if I don't do any mistake, if I don't conduct any mistake, then also I will reach cost of 20, not lesser than that, right? So if I don't do any mistake, then my cost will reach up to 20. But what if a new competitor enters into the industry and that new competitor starts selling the product at a price lesser than 20? If the new competitor starts selling the product at a price lesser than my cost, then naturally all my customers will run to them. Let's say, for example, I am manufacturing these pencils. You know, these mechanical pencils, clutch pencil as you can call them. I manufacture these pencils and my estimated cost of making this pencil is 20. My estimated cost of making this pencil is 20, and so probably based on that estimate I sell these pencils at 30. Yes, so my estimated cost is 20 and based on that my selling price is 30 per unit. But imagine, what if a competitor enters into this industry? What if Mukesh Ambani, Mukesh Ambani decided that he wants to start manufacturing such pencils. And Mukesh Ambani starts manufacturing and selling these pencils. Now, if Mukesh Ambani starts selling these pencils, you all know what he did to the Indian telecom industry. He started selling these pencils at a very less price. Let's say, for example, he started selling these pencils at a selling price of 20 per unit. Now my selling price 30. Mukesh Ambani is selling that same product at 20 rupees. So do you realize that all my customers might run away to him? All my customers will stop buying my product, rather they will buy product from him. So I will lose my customers. What should I do to prevent losing my customers? Well, to prevent losing my customers, I should also bring my selling price down to 20. But can I afford a selling price of 20? Razia, sorry to interrupt. I would like to ask, when are May 23 batches starting? Well, Razia, you can join the existing batch for May 23. The existing batch which is running for November 22, same syllabus will be applicable for May 23, right? So you can join the regular batch for May 23 exam. It's always good to get your subjects ready in advance. Anyways, see, costing subject doesn't have major changes. Costing subject doesn't have major significant changes, so it's always better that you get over with this subject as soon as possible. There are subjects like DT, IDT and law which you might have to do at the end, because these subjects involve lots of changes. Costing subject has very less changes, so might as well you can go further with this subject and start your preparations today, right? Yes, Razia. Okay. Okay, so if the competitor is selling at 20, then I need to bring my price down till 20. Well, at the estimated cost of 20, I cannot afford a selling price of 20. So now I want to bring my cost further down. From the estimated cost of 20, I want to bring that cost further down to an estimate of 18. So what you are trying to do here, you are trying to decrease your estimate further down. And how is that done? Well, if you want to decrease your estimate further down, well, to decrease my estimate further down, you tell me, can I do this decrease? Can I achieve this decrease by preventing mistakes? Come on, tell me, can I achieve this decrease by preventing mistakes? Yes, please. Are you there? Can I achieve this decrease by preventing mistakes? Pooja says yes. But I say no, Pooja. This decrease cannot be achieved by preventing mistakes. Tell me, did this estimate contain any mistake? Please understand one thing. Mistakes are there in your actual. This estimate anyways did not contain any mistake. See, I told you that if you did not do any mistake, then you can reach cost of 20. So if you had not done any mistake at all, then your cost reaches 20. You want your cost to go down till 18. Now, if this 20 did not contain any mistake, then how will you bring it down till 18? See, that's the reason why CA Final is mostly pertaining to cost reduction. Cost control is easy. Cost control is very easy. You just have to find out what went wrong and prevent that next year. But in spite of nothing going wrong, how do you decrease your cost? Now that is challenging, and that challenging thing is what we do at CA Final level. So how is that decrease done? Well, to do this decrease, what you need is, say, maybe by implementing new technology, or you can do that by implementing, say, new design. Yes, or maybe by, say, for example, training the workers to perform well. Yes, so there can be various other creative ways to achieve that decrease of estimate. That is what we do in cost reduction. So understand this clear difference. Cost control is to prevent my mistake. But after preventing mistake, if you want further improvement, then that will need cost reduction. Also, cost control, I say, is temporary, while cost reduction, I say, is permanent. How come? Let's say, for example, I was able to achieve cost reduction by preventing my mistakes. Preventing mistakes is like, say, by preventing wastage of material, by preventing wastage of labor, by preventing excess price to be paid for material. All these things you prevented in this year. Now, just because you prevented wastage in this year, does it guarantee you will prevent wastage in the next year also? Does that guarantee you will prevent wastage in the next year also? Well, no, there is no such guarantee. Yeah, there is no such guarantee. Just because I prevented wastage in this year, no guarantee that next year wastage will get prevented. So, cost control is a temporary. Just because you are able to prevent a mistake in this year doesn't mean next year and next to next year your mistakes will be prevented. Not necessary. But cost reduction is permanent. Imagine if I create a new design of the product, then the new design has lesser cost. then will you get that decrease? Will you get this savings of 2 rupees in next year, next to next year, every year? Yes, you will keep getting that savings until you continue that new design. As long as you continue that same new design, you keep getting that savings. That is the benefit of cost reduction. That's why I say cost reduction is permanent. Let's say this pencil is what I was manufacturing, but in this pencil, at the back of the pencil, there is this one tiny eraser. I have never used this eraser for erasing things. I have absolutely never used that eraser at all. So can I say this eraser is a complete waste of product? It is not useful also. Even if you try to use that eraser, it will break. Now the company realized that this eraser is completely worthless. So what the company did, company changed the design of the product where this eraser was removed. If the eraser is removed, then this cap, if you can see, this cap can also be removed, and the pencil can be made without the eraser, without the cap. Now tell me, this is a change of design. Now don't you think this change of design will help the company to save some cost? Yes, and if the company will save cost by reducing the design, the company will continue to save that cost every year permanently until they continue that new design. That's the reason I say that my cost reduction is permanent. Okay? So as long as you continue that new design, you will keep getting the savings in cost. So that makes my cost reduction permanent. Frankly, I have never used that eraser for erasing things, but I have always used that eraser to give this example. Yeah, so frankly, for me, that eraser is useful to give you examples. Anyway, so cost reduction is permanent. In short, this is my major difference between CA Interlevel and CA Final Level. At CA Interlevel, many chapters that you had were pertaining to cost control. But CA Final Level, our chapters are more pertaining to cost reduction. Okay? Okay, so cost control is focusing on cost cutting, right, to reduce your cost. Cost reduction is focused on value maximization. At final level, my purpose of the subject is not just to cut cost. At final level, my purpose of the subject is to maximize value. Maximize value means maximize value created for the investors. Because ultimately, I have to keep the investors happy. Ultimately, I have to make money for the investors. Investors will be happy if value is created, meaning their investment value should increase. That's the purpose of CA final cost. Done? Yes, so this differentiates CA inter costing versus CA final costing. And a part of this discussion, I said that at final level, we have practicals plus theory plus case studies. So one thing I told you that final level costing is mostly about writing analysis. Analysis is so important that let me show you some past exam analysis there. I've just made some analysis of some past papers. Every exam of CA final costing has been of approximately 125 marks. Yeah, because 25 marks options are there. So total 125 marks paper is there. And this is my analysis of the past 4 or 5 papers. I have the analysis of the May 22 exam paper also, but I don't have that written over here. But you can also study that later. We can discuss that later. But yeah, you see this past exam analysis in most of the exams. Out of 125 marks, you notice over 70 marks is always practical questions. Yes, more than 70 marks has always been practical questions. So कौन बोल रहा है that CA final costing is theory paper? No, it is not theory paper. It is practical questions only. But of course, every practical question here requires you to do calculations plus analysis. And that analysis is what appears like theory. But that analysis you will never be able to do unless you know the practicals. In fact, analysis you will never be able to do unless you know the core concepts. The main speciality of my class is that every concept, every calculation, every topic, we will learn based on the core concept involved. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that you have to memorize. Everything is logical. My entire subject is purely based on logic. I won't require any memory power from you. What I need from you is mostly logical clarity. Yeah. So along with that logical clarity, you'll do calculations plus you have to give analysis in the practical portion. Then theory part around 12 to around 15 to 25 marks, approximately 15 to 25. Let's say 20 marks approximately will be theory questions, which is pure theory questions, and around 20 to 30 marks is case study. Sometimes they had asked more, but mostly 20 to 30 marks is case study. Now, case studies will be the questions where you will be given story about some company and you will be told that the company is facing some problems and they're asking your suggestions of how to resolve these problems. Case studies can be theory, can be practicals, can be mixed, can be anything. Mostly the case studies are theory based. Okay? So effectively out of 125 marks paper, you can have at least 70 marks ka practicals. Out of 100 marks paper, you can answer at least 70 marks in practicals. Trust me, this is a real analysis. If you want, you can check out these past papers to see how much proportion weightage is of practical questions. Yes. Okay, so that gives you an analysis that what kind of papers come in the exam. Now let me give you an introduction of your syllabus. Your syllabus of costing contains total 11 chapters spread across like this, and the 12th one I have given in my book is additional case studies. The book that I'm gonna give you, this is the index page of my book. The book that I'm gonna give you is an all-exhaustive book. All-exhaustive such that if you do my book, then absolutely nothing else further you will need to do. My book contains topics from study material. It covers the past papers also. It covers majority RTPs also. Yes, so most of the things are covered in my book. Trust me, you do this, you don't need to do anything else. Yeah, if you wish to do anything else, then first at least do this. Then if you have time, ask me, I'll tell you what else can you do. Okay, but I'm sure doing this itself will be more challenging for you. So my entire book is divided in two parts, book 1 and book 2. Chapter 1 is Introduction to Strategic Cost Management. Introduction is what we are going to start right now. But these 3 sessions which I have designed for you, in these 3 sessions, I will not be starting even chapter 1. Instead, I will be giving you some background that is required to learn CA Final Costing. Because to learn the final level subject of costing, I need you to have some knowledge of your inter level, which mostly you have forgotten, or even if you remember, what you remember from inter level is only the calculation part. Yes or no? What I am interested is not just the calculation. What I am interested in is not the calculation part, rather the concept part. So few concepts from CA Inter-level is what we will be revising. Chapter 1 is Introduction to Strategic Cost Management. Chapter 2, 3 and 4. You can consider them together as a bunch of chapters together. Yes, Pooja says that's true. I'm so happy that's true because that gives me a chance. To clarify concepts which you should know but you don't know. Yeah, I'll be happy to teach you that. But let me tell you some content of your CA final syllabus. Your chapter 1 contains theory plus some practicals plus some case studies. However, the practicals given in chapter 1 of my book are actually for revision of CA Inter-level. Because as per ICAI study material, chapter 1 does not contain any practicals. In my book, you will see practicals of chapter 1 because I put them just to revise some inter-level concepts. Concepts like activity-based costing. Tell me, have you learned about activity-based costing? Those of you who did CA Inter in the new syllabus, you must have learned activity-based costing. But those of you who did CA Inter in old syllabus, you have not learned about activity-based costing. That's a new concept for you. So concepts like that we will be revising in chapter 1, because these concepts are widely used in many chapters of CA Final. Yes, so when I teach, I want your base to be very strong. I don't trust the base which you already have, so I will create a base for you, and then we will build on that base. Okay? Just says yes, but I forget it. Yes, good that you forgot it. You know, it is actually good that you forgot that, because it is very easy to write on a clean screen. Right? It is very easy to write on a clean slate or clean screen. But if you already have some old knowledge and I add some new knowledge to that and everything gets mixed up, becomes khichdi, then it becomes very complicated for you. Right? Okay, so chapter 1 contains theory plus practicals plus case studies. Chapter 2, 3, and 4, all three of them contain theory plus practicals plus cases, but all three of them you can say are connected to each other. You can say these are all three is a combined bunch of chapters. Then chapter 5 and chapter 6 is again a bunch of chapters, but these chapters contain mostly practicals only. Yeah, chapter 5 and 6 are famous for practicals only. Some theory are there, but not very important. We will discuss theories also, but not very important. Then comes chapter 7, that contains theory, practicals, and case studies, everything. Chapter 7 contains theory plus practicals plus case studies. But in this chapter, theory is more important. I'm just giving you weightage of different chapters, which chapter has more important practicals, which chapter has more important theory. Decision making, pricing. These chapters are more important for theory. Chapter 7, performance measurement and evaluation, is more important with respect to theory. Then chapter 8, transfer pricing, is mostly practicals only. So only practicals are important there. Chapter 9, strategic analysis of operating income, contains theory plus practicals both, and case studies are not quite there. But yes, it contains theory plus practicals, and practicals are mostly important there. Then comes chapter 10, budgetary control. Now this is interesting. Chapter 10, budgetary control, as per your syllabus, contains only theory and case studies. But if you see in my book, budgetary chapter, I have given theory plus practicals plus case studies. The practicals which I have given in budgets chapter, you'll find that exclusively in my book only. ICAI study material does not contain practicals in budgets chapter. You know, you had a chapter about budgets in your CA Inter level. You made flexible budgets, functional budgets, sales budget, production budget, purchase budget. So many types of budgets you had made in your budgets chapter at your CA Inter level. But now at final level, your budgets chapter does not contain any practicals at all. Still, I have given you practical questions. For what purpose? I have given you some practicals for revision. For revision of inter-level. So many students ask me that, sir, you have given practicals in budgets chapter. So does it mean institute can ask budgets practical at final level? Well, let me tell you, no. Institute will never ask budgets practicals in final level. So you will ask me that, sir, then why are we doing revision of CA Inter? Because as I said, I need your base to be strong. See, budgets practical question will not come at final level, but the certain concepts that you learn while doing the budgets chapter, certain concepts that you learn while doing practicals of budgets chapter, those concepts are definitely useful at various places in CA Final. That's what we will be covering on the budgets chapter. Then standard costing chapter is quite similar to your standard costing at inter level. It contains practicals only. Of course, it is not same as your standard costing chapter of inter level. There will be practicals only, but there will be advanced practical questions also. And then comes the case studies chapter. Case studies, the last chapter 12. This is the one where I have given some case studies which are combined case study. Combined, as in combined from different chapters. Yeah, so there are combined case studies from multiple chapters. See, in my book, in every chapter, I have case studies. Yes, in every chapter, I have given case studies. You can see that here, as well as here. But in the last chapter, I have given case studies which are combined case studies from multiple chapters. Okay. Anyway, so this is the entire syllabus, and we will be covering the entire syllabus. But the sequence, how I cover the entire syllabus, is a little bit different. Let me tell you my sequence of coverage, so that if you are planning to join the class, you know how to join. My sequence will be that my syllabus will be done in 3 phases. Stage 1, I will be doing chapter 1, 10, 11, 5 and 6. Only practicals. Yes, first I will discuss only practicals of these chapters. First, I will be discussing only practicals of these chapters, because these are the chapters where practicals are more important. Okay? Second stage, I will be then covering same chapter 1, 10, 11, 5 and 6, but now I will cover the theory and the case studies of these chapters. So yes, I will be discussing theories in the class. I will be discussing the case studies also in my class. Yeah. So many students have a question that, sir, will you be discussing only practicals? Well, obviously not. If I discuss only practicals, then you will not pass in your exams. I am there with you until you pass your exams. Yes, I will be covering everything. And then in the stage 3, I will discuss all remaining chapters. And all the remaining chapters, theory plus practicals plus case studies, all we will discuss. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so this is gonna be my sequence. Now, many times students also ask me that, sir, can you give me weightage of different chapters? Weightage, that which chapter is more important, which chapter is less important. Yes, Razia is interested in that. Okay, let me tell you, weightage of the chapters is something that you never ask at CA final level. I'll tell you some interesting story. There was one exam of CA final, I think in May 18 or so. Yeah, somewhere May 18 or May 19 in the new syllabus, the first or second exam in the new syllabus. So there were some exams. I'll give you some analysis of few past exams of CA final level. See, out of all these chapters, there was one exam in which, you see this chapter 7, there was an exam in which they asked almost 40 marks out of this one chapter, chapter 7. Imagine 40 marks out of only this one chapter. In the very next paper, in the very next attempt, again they asked almost 35 marks from this chapter. So don't you see that looking at this past experience, the students will be under the impression that, oh, chapter 7, very, very important. So you give so much efforts to chapter 7, you even sacrifice other chapters to do this chapter 7. Now, you know what happened in the next exam after that? In the next exam after that, 0 marks came from chapter 7. Yes, 0 marks. See the weightage. Those students who saw who did the analysis of past two papers. The students who did analysis of past two papers, they had prepared chapter 7 so nicely, thinking that, oh, this is very important. And because of that, they sacrificed the time given to other chapters. And then in the exam, they asked 0 marks out of this chapter. Now tell me, if this is how ICAI papers come, how do you expect me to give you weightages? How do you expect to get any weightage of any chapters? No. You know, the best way to make your preparations best is what? The best way to prepare is to prepare everything. CA final papers are not difficult. Yes, let me tell you, CA final papers are not actually difficult. But what makes them difficult is that they are unexpected. Yes, CA final papers are not difficult. What makes them difficult is just that they are unexpected. When you find a paper which is unexpected, people will say that, oh, it was a very difficult paper. Yes or no? And what is the best way to tackle an unexpected paper? Tell me, what will you say? What's the best way to tackle an unexpected paper? Exactly. The best way to tackle an unexpected paper is not to expect anything. You prepare everything. I've seen students who, I know many of you, you waste so much time in doing analysis of the past papers. You do so much analysis of the past papers, but if you spend that time in reading, you will cover the entire syllabus. Rather than doing so much analysis of the past papers and finding out that which chapter is important, which is not important, you make graphs and charts and so many bloody things you make just to conclude that which chapter is important and not. At the same time, if you spend in reading the chapter, it will be done. That's my policy, right? So don't ask me the weightage of any chapter. Wherever weightage will be applicable, I will tell you, samne se. Yeah, but if I don't tell you, then consider it is average weightage. The best way to tackle unexpected paper is not to expect anything. You prepare absolutely everything. Yeah, yes. Okay, so so that is how my entire syllabus is drafted. Now with that background, let us begin with some basic revision concepts. One concept we already revised, that is cost control versus cost reduction. I told you in my introduction series, I'm going to revise certain basic things which you need for CA final level. We revised one concept here called cost control and cost reduction. Few other things also we need to revise. Let's proceed. Meanwhile, tell me, any questions in cost control, cost reduction? Maruti, so as per this concept, the estimates are perfect. Maruti, perfect in the sense that these estimates, see, how do you define perfect? There is no such thing as perfect as such, but yeah, I can say that as per this concept, the word estimate means that you do not estimate inefficiency. You do not estimate that there will be wastage of material. You do not estimate that you will pay excess price for material. Yes or no? Yeah. So you do not estimate mistakes. The word mistake means when actual is different from the estimate, that difference is called as a mistake. Yeah. So wastage of material, wastage of labor, inefficiency of labor, idle time of labor, extra price paid for material, extra price paid for labor, all these are called as mistakes, which does not come in estimate. Done? Yes. So if you were very careful not wasting material, if you were very careful keeping labor efficiency as optimum, So even with the best efficiency of labor, you will reach this estimate of 20. If you want to bring that estimate further down, then this reduction cannot be done by preventing wastage. This reduction cannot be done by negotiating better price of materials. To do this reduction, you must discover new technology, new design, training, or maybe economies of scale, etc. Done? Yes, clear with that? Just grab a sip of water. Uh, Razia seems like you are lagging behind. Comment is coming late. I discussed that a while ago. Oh, Maruti, obviously estimates are achievable. Otherwise, why would you make that estimate? Estimates are achievable. In fact, Maruti, I am even exceeding my estimates. If I do cost reduction, then you are even able to exceed your estimated performance. Yes, can you go? Can we go for some more further basics? We proceed to discuss some more basics there. What if management is inefficient while preparing estimates? Okay. If unachievable. Okay, if the management made estimates which are very unachievable, so it seems that your cost control will always show mistakes. It will always show mistake because your estimate itself are made very unachievable. So every year you will see mistakes when you do variance calculations. That can happen, Maruti. That's okay. But still, it will be falling under cost control. It doesn't fall under cost reduction. Yes, see, please understand, cost reduction will happen when you do something new, like new technology or new design or something else creative, right? Right? I'll give you an example. There arises one question that cost control means to identify mistakes and prevent these mistakes. How do you identify and prevent mistakes? Well, you can do that by calculating variances. No variances? Cost variance, revenue variances, material price variance, material usage variance, every single variance that you have learned in standard costing chapter. Yes, every single variance calculation that you have learned in standard costing chapter is an example of mistakes. Is an example of mistakes. Yes, and that mistake will happen only when actual is different from estimate. Okay? Now, calculating variances is the job of a cost accountant, is a job of a chartered accountant. So you might have a question that, sir, as a chartered accountant, what role do we have in doing cost control? Well, you have a major role in doing cost control because as a chartered accountant, you are the person who will calculate variances. You are the person who will identify the mistakes. And then you can tell the production manager, sales manager that how to prevent those mistakes. Yes, so you have a major role to play when it comes to cost control. But well, this creates a doubt. This creates a doubt that what role does a chartered accountant have to play when we talk about cost reduction? I told you cost reduction is done by discovering new technology, new design. Well, let's say new design. Cost reduction can be done by changing the design of this product. Now tell me, is it your job to change the design of the product? Is that the job of a chartered accountant? To change the design of the product? To discover new technology? Is that the job of chartered accountant? No. No. Then why are you learning cost reduction? Cost reduction can be done only by discovering new technology. Then what is the purpose why you are supposed to learn cost reduction? Any idea? Who is supposed to create the new design? If my cost reduction is to be done by creating new design, whose job is it to create a new design? Which staff in my company is responsible to create new design? Well, mostly that design will be created by the engineering staff, say the designing staff, the designer. Yeah. So the new design is to be created by whom? By the designer. By the research and development department. Correct. R&D department. Yeah. Yeah. The new design is to be created by the R&D department. Then why are you learning cost reduction? Think, Socho. See, this is how we are going to learn the subject. I don't want you to just memorize the rules. I want you to reach the core basic concept with very realistic examples. So tell me, why is a chartered accountant being taught about cost reduction when you can't even do cost reduction? You can't even create a new design. Then why are you being taught about cost reduction? How can you help in cost reduction? Yes, any idea? If no idea, you can say no idea. Arey, Maruti, if I start from tomorrow attending morning class, will I be able to understand, sir? Maruti, if you start from tomorrow morning, most things you will understand. I cannot say that everything you will understand, but it's anyways good enough to start, right? Most of the things you will understand because the new concept that I'm gonna cover, that you will understand, but the old things which will come tomorrow, that you may not understand. Okay? Okay, so coming back here, why does a designer need to be, what does a chartered accountant do in cost reduction? Taking that same example, chalo, about this pencil. Imagine I tell my designer that you create a new design which will reduce cost. Now the designer doesn't know that which item cost how much. The designer doesn't know that what is material cost, what is labor cost and all. What if in this product the majority cost is incurred on material? What if in this product majority cost is incurred for material? And when I ask the designer to change the design, the designer comes up with a new design which doesn't reduce material. The designer comes up with a design which will reduce labor. What if the designer created a new design of the product in which material consumed is the same but labor required is less? Will that actually save your cost? No. So see, you have to tell the designer, you have to explain to the designer that in this product, material is a very expensive product. In this product, material is the most expensive input. You give me a design which will save material cost. Do you understand that? So if the designer comes up with a new design which doesn't save material but saves only labor, It doesn't give you major cost reduction. So who has the understanding of the cost? Chartered accountant has the understanding of cost. As a chartered accountant, you understand that which item of cost is big, which item of cost is significant, which item of cost is not significant. So accordingly, you suggest the designer. It is me who suggests the designer that you think of a new design in which material is saved. Exactly. So you have to give some suggestions to the designer. I told the designer that you create a design which will save material. Otherwise, he will create a design which will save labor. I have to tell him that labor is anyways not a big cost. I have to tell him that labor is anyways not very expensive. So I am getting cheap labor. Don't worry about labor. You get me a product which has cheaper material cost. That's what I have to explain it to the designer. That's the use of chartered accountant in cost reduction. Do you understand that? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so see, such realistic examples will tell you that why is a chartered accountant supposed to learn cost reduction? Done? Because the designer doesn't know which item costs how much. Plus, when the designer will create a new design, then after creating the new design, you have to check whether the new design is able to achieve 18 or not. Whether the new design is able to reduce 20 to 18 or not. Maruti, so our job is before the new design development starts. Obviously, if the new design is already created, then what will you do? Yeah. So see, you are trying to reduce estimate to another estimate. So Maruti, do you see both are estimates? Estimates means before you start actually producing, right? Yes, Razia, correct. Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to my next part in my introduction, which pertains to purpose of the subject of costing. Why do we learn the subject of costing? Well, costing basically means calculating a cost of a product. So why do we want to calculate cost of a product? You calculate, say, total cost per unit is estimated as say 20. Why did you estimate cost per unit? Well, you estimated cost per unit so that you add a profit, say 10 per unit, and therefore set a selling price per unit, say 30. So the purpose why we do the subject of costing, the purpose of my costing subject was like this. In my costing subject, you identify cost, add profit so that you get a selling price. Maruti, so if estimates are even achievable or not is also determined in a cost control. See, Maruti, the basic idea behind making estimates is that the estimates must be achievable. So forget that estimates are unachievable. No, you make the estimates, estimates have to be achievable only. No? Otherwise, what is the meaning of making estimates? Imagine if ICAI announces that passing marks in the exam is 85. What will you do? If ICAI announces that passing marks in CA exams is 85 marks, imagine what will happen. I'll tell you what will happen. What will happen is majority people will stop doing CA. If they say that passing marks is 85, so many students will stop doing CA. करेंगे ही नहीं लोग CA. Yeah, you will leave the many students will leave the course. Then what's the meaning of keeping the target which is so much unachievable when you don't have anyone to perform that target? If you start giving targets which are very tough, employees will leave the company, company will shut down. Right? So whenever estimates are created, estimates are always created which are achievable. Okay? Because achievable estimates you are supposed to achieve. If you don't achieve, then it is called as a mistake. If you don't achieve, then it will be discussed under cost control. Okay? So Maruti, can we proceed? Okay, so it is achievable even with some normal loss. Yeah, it can be achievable with some normal loss, all things considered. Okay. Okay, so my next part in my introduction is called purpose of costing. Purpose of costing, simple. Why do we calculate cost? Well, purpose number one, you calculate cost so that you add some profit and set the selling price. But is it necessary that every time I have the liberty to decide my own price? Is it necessary that every time I have the liberty to decide my own price? No. When there is very tough competition, when there is intense competition in the industry, then I don't have the liberty to set my own price. You remember perfect competition, economics, microeconomics, perfect competition. A firm in perfect competition doesn't decide the price. A firm in perfect competition is not a price maker, he's a price taker. ऐसा कुछ something like that, do you remember? Yeah, so the same thing I can apply over here, that if I don't have the liberty to decide my own price, then what should I do? If I don't have the liberty to decide my own price, so the price will be taken as the market price. You don't have to decide the price. The price is given, price is there as the market price. So if you don't have to decide your price, then what is the purpose of calculating a cost per unit? You told me that cost per unit is calculated so that we can determine the price. But if price you don't have to determine, the price, then what is the purpose of calculating a cost? Well, still it is important to do cost calculation so that you identify your profit. Yes, so that you identify profit, and based on that profit, yes Maruti, based on the profit you decide whether should I continue producing this product or not. Whether should I continue making this product or not, you decide based on the profit. So the first purpose of costing is to determine selling price. Second purpose of costing, if selling price is given, then again costing is needed to determine the profit. Okay? Third purpose of costing is cost control and cost reduction, what we just discussed. And the fourth purpose of costing is general, any other decision making. Yeah, these are considered like the four main purpose in my subject of costing. Why do we determine cost? Next in my revision, do you know what does the term cost unit mean? Yes, do you know what does the term cost unit mean? Cost unit means the unit of measurement used to calculate cost. The unit of measurement which you use for doing cost calculations. For example, yes, Maruti, it's not necessary the smallest unit of measurement. No, it is not the smallest unit of measurement. It is unit of measurement. Any unit of measurement which is used for cost calculation. For example, say if I am manufacturing these pencils, if I am manufacturing these pencils, then what will be my cost unit? My cost will be calculated for what? How will I calculate cost? Will I calculate my cost in terms of per kg? Can I calculate cost in terms of per kg? Obviously not. What should be my method of calculating a cost? Come on, you tell me. Can you try? If I'm manufacturing pencils, uh, Maruti, per batch. Why? Why per batch? Well, basically, in case of pencils, my cost will not be calculated per kg or per batch. My cost will be calculated in terms of per piece, per unit, per piece, per pencil. Yes, chalo, another example. Say, what if I manufacture, I'm into the business of manufacturing, say, steel. Okay, Razia, I think you are still lagging behind. You can click on the live button on the YouTube stream so that you can come live. Your answers are coming very late, so it seems like you are lagging behind. What if I'm into the business of manufacturing steel? Come on, tell me. Steel manufacturing, how do I calculate cost? For steel manufacturing, can I calculate cost per piece, per unit, per piece, per liter, per kg? What should be my base? Exactly, my steel manufacturing cost will be calculated in terms of cost per ton. Why not cost per kg? Why not kg? Maruti, you only said that smallest unit of measurement. Now kg is a unit of measurement smaller than ton. Why did you not use kgs? Smallest unit of measurement is kgs. Uske bhi niche grams, milligrams, micrograms, nanograms. Why not use the smaller unit of measurement? Why did you choose to use ton? Exactly. Steel will be measured in terms of per ton because in case of steel, kgs is a very small unit of measurement. Yes, and when you sell steel, when the company is going to sell the product, it is not sold in terms of kgs. It is going to be sold in terms of tons. So the main concept here, that cost unit is the unit of measurement used to calculate cost, and that unit of measurement depends on cost unit depends on how the product is sold. Yes, it depends on how the product is going to be sold. It depends on how the product is going to be sold. That is supposed to be my cost unit. Okay, yeah. Let's look one more example. Cement manufacturing. In case of cement manufacturing, how is the cost going to be calculated? In case of cement manufacturing, my cost can be calculated per kg, per ton. What method can be used, or per bag? Well, yes, out of all these things, cement can be measured in terms of kgs, it can be measured in terms of tons, it can be measured in terms of bags, but cost is calculated in terms of per bag. Why? Because cement is always sold in terms of bags. You go to a shop and tell them that you want half a bag of cement, they will not give. You go to the shop and tell them that you want 500 grams of cement, they will not give. Yes, cement is mostly sold in terms of per bag only, so the cost is also calculated in terms of per bag. ठीक है. Yes, cement is calculated per bag because it is sold in terms of per bag. In short, the purpose is that how the product is sold, that is important. See, before you start calculating the cost of any product, you should decide that what should be your unit of measurement. The unit of measurement is called as cost unit. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Now that takes me to my next discussion. The important discussion to start calculations. Some important discussion to start calculations is about types of cost. Yes, Maruti, cost sheet is what we are going to learn. But before learning a cost sheet, we need to learn certain important items of cost. You might be wondering that, okay, sir, these are so primary basics of CA interlevel. Sir, why are you teaching these things? But trust me, even though these are pure basics, even basics not of final, these are basics of interlevel, still, I'm sure you make mistakes in that many times. Sir, I will revisit this lecture and can I ask doubts tomorrow? Yes, definitely. Why not? Yeah, we have these three sessions today, tomorrow, and the day after, right? And I'm here for all your doubts. Okay. Okay. So my types of costs are necessary to understand that how is the cost being calculated. So there are two types: prime cost, overhead cost. Have you heard these names? Tell me, have you heard these names? What is prime cost? What is overheads? Tell me, what is prime cost? Or tell me what is overheads? Anything that you remember. Yes, Razia. Yes, Razia, you are finally live now. Yes, Razia. Prime cost is direct material, direct labor. Okay. Deepak, good evening, Deepak sir. आपका पूरा कॉस्टिंग यूट्यूब पे लेने वाले हो? नो दीपक, पूरा कॉस्टिंग यूट्यूब पे लेंगे तो मैं कैसे कमाऊंगा? That will not be done. Deepak, these classes on YouTube are just to give you an idea that हम classes कैसे conduct करते हैं. My regular classes आपको मिलेगा on Unacademy. Yeah, so you log on to Unacademy app, you need to buy some subscription and you'll get my regular classes there. ठीक है? Razia, fixed and variable bifurcation we will learn later, not now. But right now, yes, my prime cost means all items of direct costs are together called as prime cost, and overheads means all items of indirect cost. So chalo, tell me, what is direct cost, what is indirect cost? Direct means what, indirect means what? Yes, Maruti. What does direct mean? दीपक कौन सा सेशन लेने वाला? दीपक, I am conducting only introduction on YouTube here. Introduction session, so that introduction के बाद आप मेरा बैच ज्वाइन कर सको on Unacademy. ठीक है? 3 sessions I'm gonna take today 7 p.m, tomorrow 7 p.m and day after tomorrow 7 p.m. ठीक है? तीनों सेशन में बेसिक इंट्रोडक्शन होगा, इंटर लेवल कॉस्टिंग का रिवीजन होगा. ओनली दैट रिवीजन कि जो सीए फाइनल के लिए जरूरी है. ठीक है? Yes, Maruti, direct material which is directly inserted into final product. Correct. Which is found in finished goods. Correct. Razia, direct costs are directly contributing to produce the product. Absolutely. So, direct cost means they are directly related to production. Simple terms, में yes. While indirect cost, opposite. It's raining in Hyderabad. Good. Good. Enjoy the rain. You may lose power. Oh, now that's sad. So sad. Why does power go off during rain? Deepak, understood sir, but tell me Unacademy पे स्पेशल सेशन होते हैं आपके कुछ प्लान किया है या आप स्टडी मटेरियल कवरेज ओके दीपक आई हैव माय ओन नोट्स मेरा खुद का मटेरियल होगा एंड मेरा खुद का मटेरियल तो मैं आपको अभी भी दे सकता हूँ बट यूट्यूब पे मटेरियल शेयर होगा नहीं सो दीपक इफ यू वांट माय मटेरियल यू जॉइन माय टेलीग्राम चैनल Yes, you join my Telegram channel. Telegram channel के साथ मेरा Telegram discussion group भी है. You can join my Telegram discussion group, and in that discussion group I can share the material with you. And Unacademy पे मेरा sessions जो होते हैं वो regular plus classes होते हैं subscription वाला. या स्पेशल क्लास भी होते हैं बट स्पेशल क्लास में ऑब्वियसली फुल सिलेबस नहीं होगा ओकेजनली डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स आपको कुछ टॉपिक्स मिल जाएंगे स्पेशल क्लास में बट फुल सिलेबस प्लस क्लास में होगा दैट इज द पेड क्लासेस ठीक है या because I'm very cautious about faculty frequently changing on Unacademy and for SCMPE I hope you are getting my concern yes Deepak I understand your concern Razia also need material. Okay, I'll just share the material on the Telegram channel once again. And Deepak, I can assure you that if you join Unacademy, then even if the faculty changes, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here on Unacademy only. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. But for any other faculty which you have been watching, and if the faculty has left Unacademy, still the recorded sessions of that faculty will be made available at least for next 6 to 8 months, right? So Deepak, if you have faced that problem with any other faculty, then make sure that you will get the recorded sessions. No, no, Deepak, that's not disturbing. I'm here to solve your questions. I'm here to solve your doubts and confusions. See, that's the reason we conduct the YouTube sessions, right? YouTube sessions are to clarify all your queries and confusions. Rizvi also has the same problem. Can by any chance can you share with me that for which subject did you experience that? Yeah, because if many of you are facing that problem, I can take the matters with an academy management and maybe find a solution to that. For which subject did you face any such trouble? Or maybe your friends faced some trouble, that's okay. दीपक आई बी हैविंग बोथ फास्ट ट्रैक भी होगा फुल सिलेबस भी होगा अभी जो मेरा बैच चल रहा है वो फुल कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बैच चल रहा है फास्ट ट्रैक होगा बट फास्ट ट्रैक होगा समवेयर इन से सितंबर और सो एग्जाम नजदीक आएगा तब फास्ट ट्रैक होगा या मेरा प्रीवियस फास्ट ट्रैक रिकॉर्डेड सेशंस अवेलेबल है इफ यू वांट वो भी प्लस क्लास में होगा यस ठीक है और कोई क्वेश्चंस One of my friends said, not exactly the name. Okay. But as I said, even if some faculty leaves the platform, still the previous recorded sessions are available. So for SCMP, if you are asking, I have already conducted 4 batches, complete batches on Unacademy. I've already completed 4 regular batches on Unacademy. I've already completed 2 fast track batches on Unacademy in the last 1 year only. Yes, so all those recorded sessions of last 1 year are available on the Unacademy platform. So in fact, you don't even need to wait for me to complete a batch. You have the recorded sessions ready. You can complete them on your own also. Okay? Yeah. But if you join the live batch will always be more enjoyable. Always. Right? Okay. So आगे बढ़े थोड़ा पढ़ाई कर ले. Yeah. Before we end the session. Okay. So direct costs are directly related to production. सर पहले राहुल सर एससीएमपी पे लेते हैं उनको Deepak, I am not sure why have they changed. Maybe some issue. I don't know. I don't know what's the issue. But in case you had been watching some old sessions, I'm sure Rahul Sarka recorded sessions will be available. So if you had an active subscription, you will still be able to complete the batch from the earlier recorded sessions, right? Okay, so we'll proceed here. So direct costs are directly related to the production. Indirect costs are not directly related to the production. They are incurred in the factory, but they are not directly incurred on your product. Okay? Now all items of direct costs are called as prime costs. All items of indirect costs are called as overheads. दीपक सर क्या होता है ना बाद में डाउट नहीं सॉल्व होता है बस यही प्रॉब्लम्स अगर कोई फैकल्टी चला जाता है यही तकलीफ होता है बस दीपक फॉर मी आई कैन अश्योर यू दैट डाउट सॉल्विंग तो वैसे भी हम टेलीग्राम पे करेंगे या एंड फॉर डाउट सॉल्विंग आई कैन ऑल्सो हैव रेगुलर स्पेशल क्लासेस आप देखो मेरे स्पेशल क्लासेस है अनअकैडमी पे फॉर डाउट सॉल्विंग वी कैन ऑल्सो कम अप विद डाउट सॉल्विंग ऑन टेलीग्राम चैनल एंड यू कैन ऑलवेज कॉन्टैक्ट मी ऑन टेलीग्राम कोई भी डाउट है टेलीग्राम पे कांटेक्ट करो अगर सेशन भी कंडक्ट करवाना आई कैन कम लाइव ऑन यूट्यूब इफ यू वांट ठीक है बिकॉज यू नो मेरा एक प्रॉब्लम है दैट कि मुझे डाउट सॉल्व करना बहुत पसंद है I love solving doubts. I encourage you to ask more and more doubts. So I actually love solving doubts. So even though you are watching recorded sessions, for all those students of mine who watch recorded sessions, I come live once in a while for collecting your doubts and for answering your doubts. मेरे को बहुत मजा आता है डाउट सॉल्व करने को ठीक है ओके अभी थोड़ा बहुत यहाँ खत्म करना है लेट अस डू दैट फर्स्ट Okay, so prime cost is all items of direct cost जिसमें include होगा what is included there direct material direct labor and direct expenses and overheads are all items of indirect cost इसमें include होगा indirect material indirect labor indirect expenses now can you think of examples देखो ये तो सबको पता है, everybody knows, most of you know that prime cost means direct material, direct labor, direct expenses. Most of you know that overheads is indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses. But to understand this better, I need some examples. I need you to give me some examples. Say if I am manufacturing these pencils, if I'm manufacturing these pencils, what do you think is example for direct material? What would you give as example for direct material? Well, if this is the pencil that I'm manufacturing, आप देखो ध्यान से, this is a mechanical pencil made of plastic. This is a mechanical pencil made of plastic. Then a direct material example रहेगा plastic. Yes, direct labor. What could be example of direct labor? Direct labor means the worker who is directly associated with making this product. Direct worker means the worker who is directly associated with making this product. Let's say the worker working inside the factory, factory worker. The wages and salaries paid to the factory worker will become direct labor. Yes, and direct expenses. Well, you know, direct expense. Yes, Maruti, the person, the worker who is operating the machine, the worker who is, say, probably assembling the parts of the product to make the final product, all such workers who are directly associated with the product is becoming my direct labor. Okay? Now, direct expenses is something very tricky. Direct expenses. You know, there are very few examples of cost which fall under direct expenses. You might have noticed that in ICAI questions which you had at your CA inter level, there are very few questions in which direct expense was given. Because you know, direct expense is actually very rare. There are very few examples of expense which is a direct expense. See, direct expenses means it is not material, it is not labor, still it is directly related to the product. Now, can you think of any such example here? Well, there are very few examples. You might not even think about any example. So let us leave that pending for now. I'll come back to it after discussing other examples. Okay? So yeah, there are very few examples. I'll tell you very few. So one or two examples are there. I will create that example, but I'll come back to it later. Right now, let us cover the other examples. Examples for indirect cost. Indirect material. See, it has to be material, but it has to be indirect. Can you think of an example? A material which is not directly used on the product, but it is used in the company. Come on, give me example for indirect material. Okay, spares which are used in the machine. ठीक है, spares can be indirect material, but I'll give you a more common example because see, spares not necessary that the machine will regularly needs spare part changes. Machines might need spare part changes only once in a while. Yeah. Yes, Maruti, stationery that are used in offices can be considered as indirect material, but I will use my favorite example. Say lubricants which are used in machines. Lubrication which is required in the machine, lubricants which are used in the machine. Yes, that becomes indirect material. Lubricants is a material, but are the lubricants directly put on the product here? No, the lubricants are put in the machine. Machine is used to make the product. Yes, right? Stationery is also an example. Yes, packing material is also an example. Correct. So I'll write all of that. Lubricants or stationery or packing material. Yes, all of them can be examples of indirect material. Then indirect labor. Can you think of example under indirect labor? Obviously, chalo, yes, indirect labor. Best example, say security guard, or maybe say accountant, or say salesman. All of them can become the indirect labor. And indirect other expenses. Indirect expenses meaning it is neither material nor it is labor, still it is an expense and it is not directly related to the product. Example of indirect expense. Yes, rent is an indirect expense, correct? Or say maybe power consumption of the machine can also be an indirect expense. Yes. So in short, now you have an idea what kind of expense is direct or indirect. Now, the one part pending, direct expense example. I think Razia is again lagging behind. Razia's salaries will fall under indirect labor. Yeah. Depreciation comes here. Yes, obviously, now the depreciation will come. Depreciation is an indirect expense. Definitely. Yeah. But what about direct expense? Direct expense example, I'll tell you. Have you heard of, say, royalty? Royalty for production? Like, say, if I'm doing production using some technology discovered by you, you discovered some technology. You are Fulsuk Wangdu, Three Idiots Wala. You have so many technologies that you discovered, and you have a patent created for the technology that you created. Now, if you have a patent created for a technology you created, you have a patent for, say, a design which you created. So, for your patented design, for your patented technology, if I am using your design to do the production, then for every unit that I produce, I have to pay royalty to you. For every unit that I produce, I have to pay royalty to you. I don't pay royalty for the unit which I sell. No, I pay royalty for every unit that I produce. This is called as production related royalty. So tell me, if I have to pay royalty for every unit that I produce, so can I say the royalty cost is directly related to the product? Yes, the royalty cost is directly related to the product. Yes or no? Yeah. Yes, and that royalty which I pay is neither material nor labor, it is royalty. It is other expense which I have to pay for every unit that I produce. That can become an example of direct expense. Only one example I have. But at least that gives you an idea of the nature of expense. Right? Now, these overheads which we discussed, all these overheads can be further classified in three categories. You might have heard the name Maruti Kumar. Why can't it be part of cost of production? Maruti, obviously it is part of cost of production. Maruti, all of this is part of cost of production. All the direct items will be part of your production cost because it is directly related to production. Maruti, do you know what is cost of production? See, right now, I am classifying all my costs among these 6 items only. So, Maruti, these 6 items cover all items of cost. Yes, absolutely every item of cost, every item of your operating cost is covered within these 6 elements. And from these six elements, we will learn how to calculate production cost. From these 6 elements, we will learn how to calculate factory cost. See, that's the reason why such revision is necessary, because it seems, Maruti, that you don't know what exactly does cost of production mean. You don't know what exactly does factory cost mean. We have some patience. We'll discuss that when we discuss the cost sheet format. First, we understand the different natures of cost, and then we will compile all of them in preparing a cost sheet format. Okay? Yeah. So first, let me give you one more classification here. My overheads can be further classified into 3 components. Yes, my overheads can be further classified into 3 components. Do you know the names? One is called as factory overheads. Then you can have admin overheads. And then you have selling and distribution overheads. Yes. So factory overheads, admin overheads, selling and distribution overheads, all of them are another classification for indirect cost. You know that indirect cost means the costs which are not directly related to the product. But if that cost is incurred inside the factory premises, it is called as factory overheads. If that cost is incurred for general admin purpose, it is called as admin overheads. And if that cost is incurred for selling and distribution, it is called as selling and distribution overheads. Again, I need examples from you. So can you give me example of indirect material which is used in the factory? Then give me example for indirect material used for admin and indirect material used for selling and distribution. Tell me, indirect material used in the factory. Example. We have already written 3 examples here. Which of these 3 is used in factory? Well, yes, lubricants. Lubricants is the one which is used in the factory. So example I can give here is lubricants. Then which indirect material is used for admin work? Admin or general work. Example will be the office stationery. And which indirect material is used for selling and distribution? Is packing material. So in short, this classification here is based on where the cost is incurred. If it is incurred inside the factory, then any indirect cost incurred inside the factory will be called as factory overheads. Okay? Then indirect labor. Can you give me example of indirect labor incurred in the factory? Indirect labor incurred in the factory. Exactly, chalo, good. Supervisor. The supervisor salary, okay. A supervisor salary can become the indirect labor incurred in the factory. Second example, indirect labor incurred for admin. Razia, security is an example, but Razia, security example Give me a moment. I'll discuss it a little later. Yeah. You give me example other than security. Now give me example for indirect labor used for admin. Okay. Indirect labor used for admin is accountant salary and indirect labor used for selling and distribution. Well, you can say the sales manager or salesman. Salesman salary. Okay. Okay. But the security guard which you said, Razia, security guard that you said, why did I not write that example? Because security guard can fall under all three categories. Maruti sales commission or salesman salary, everything will fall under selling overheads only. Yes, everything will fall under selling overheads only. But my discussion here was pertaining to the security guard. Now, security guard can fall any place. Why? Because see, if the security guard is positioned at the factory gate, if the security guard is at the factory gate, then security guard salary will become factory overheads. If the same security guard is kept in the accounting office, because accounting office will also have a security guard. So if the same security guard is in the accounts office, then he will become admin overheads. And if the same security guard is stationed at the showroom, imagine if the same security guard is at the showroom, securing the showroom, then his salary becomes selling overheads. Yes, do you realize security guard can fall at any of the three places? Yes, do you understand that? Come on, say yes. Yeah. Yes. Now give me examples for indirect expense in the factory, in admin, and in selling distribution. Well, the same thing can come. Rent of the factory will become factory overheads. Rent of the accounting office will become admin overheads, and rent of the showroom can become the selling overheads. Yeah. Similarly, power consumption at all three places. Similarly, depreciation of things at all three places. Like depreciation of machines will become factory overheads. Depreciation of say accounting equipments, admin equipments. Like say in the admin office you have air conditioners. You have air conditioners in the accounting office. Depreciation of those air conditioners will become admin overheads. Yeah, and depreciation. Your showroom also has air conditioners. So depreciation of air conditioners in the showroom will become selling and distribution overheads. Right? So there are so many examples that can be classified here. Only one example I'll give. I'll remove the example of security because that falls everywhere. But say a factory rent. Over here, office rent. And over here, showroom rent. Can become your examples. Done? Yes. So this covers major components of cost, major items of cost. Now using all these items of cost, we need to prepare total cost. Yes, using these items of cost, we need to prepare a statement of total cost. That statement of total cost will be called as a cost sheet format. Cost sheet is a format which you have been learning since the very first day of costing subject at your CA inter level. Yes or no? Yeah. But cost sheet format I'm still gonna teach you again. Even though this is CA final level, still I'm going to teach you some basics about cost sheet again because Well, they are never going to ask you cost sheet at final level exam. No, they are never going to ask you what is cost sheet in final exam. But the things that you learn in cost sheet are useful at various places in CA final. Like from the cost sheet, you will learn what does factory cost mean. From the cost sheet, you will learn what does cost of production mean. From the cost sheet, you will learn that which items will come under valuation of finished goods. Under cost sheet, you will learn which items will come under valuation of WIP. Yes, so various different items, various different names of cost you will learn in the cost sheet. Clear? Ultimately, cost sheet format will compile all these items of cost into one list. But you know, cost sheet is going to use only 6 items of cost. Yes, your cost sheet format is going to use only 6 items of cost. Which 6? I'll show you. My cost sheet will use 6 items of cost as number 1, direct material, number 2, direct labor, number 3, direct expenses, number 4, factory overheads, admin overheads, and selling and distribution overheads. Think about this. Think about this, that if you add this 1, 2, 3, this 4, this 5, and this 6. If you add these 6 items, tell me, does that cover all items of cost? If you add these 6 items, does that cover all items of cost? Yes, these 6 items cover all items of cost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These items will cover all items of cost, and cost sheet will make a total of these items of cost. Okay? Maruti, why is cost unit useful? Well, Maruti, cost unit is useful because that will indicate your unit of measurement. How will you do valuation of closing finished goods when you don't know what is the unit of measurement? Yeah, how will you do valuation of each unit when you don't know how to measure the units? Yep. So units, you need to know that how is the unit of measurement, how are the quantities measured. Okay? Yeah. Anyways, we don't have enough time today, so cost sheet format is what we'll be discussing in my session tomorrow. Yeah. So tomorrow's session, all practical session, we will be making a format of cost sheet and we'll be learning various items in that format of cost sheet. Okay? Yeah. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Good evening. Good night. Let me know if you have any questions. Maruti, cost unit will be used in valuation of finished goods. Yes, in the cost sheet. It will be used for valuation of finished goods in the cost sheet format. But Maruti, you know, cost sheet can be made on a total basis. Cost sheet can also be made on per unit basis. So we'll talk about cost sheet in my session tomorrow. What is the use of cost sheet? How all different ways the cost sheet is going to be made. We will learn that tomorrow. And yes, for that session tomorrow, I will require you to use my material. So yes, I will be sharing my material on the Telegram channel. So please join my Telegram channel, join the Telegram discussion group. I'll be sharing that material immediately in a while on the Telegram group. Yes, you have it? Good. That's all. Thank you very much. Good evening, good night. See you tomorrow at the same time, 7 p.m. Bye-bye.